So I am Amol Dighe from TIFR Mumbai, and I work in physics, and therefore my familiarity is more with basic sciences. So thanks for having me here and giving me a chance to say something. Many of my colleagues have actually made very important points, and clearly the issue is complex, otherwise it would have simple solutions. So as we do, as many of you are teachers, we know that when we have complex issues, we try to model them, try to think in terms of some analogies. One analogy that I think is appropriate for science or scientific progress in the country is that of a pyramid. Whatever you see as the greatest scientific pinnacles of the country or in the world are the pinnacles of the pyramid, but they are all based on what happens below that. For some scientists to do great amount of work, it's required that he has a well-equipped lab and also students or people around him who help him in his endeavors. That is also based on the number of experts in the field. All of that will be based on the education at the university level, again on the high school level and on the school level. So this is the pyramid which we want to develop. Now of course there are many ways of developing the pyramid. If you say I want to increase height of the pyramid by adding blocks on top of whatever I have. So what's going to happen is I have this pyramid and I'm going to add something on top. It's perfectly good. In fact, many of the best scientists, in fact many examples that came, starting with Homi Bhabha, Raman, Meghnad Saha, all of them were of this kind. They were individual people who were really, really good, and therefore they really increased the height of that pyramid and they did stupendous work. However, you can imagine that if you are going to increase the height of a pyramid by increasing things only on top, it's going to become unstable. As a result, when this great scientist passes away or finishes his work, there are no others which are there to immediately take this thing up. So what does this mean? This means that a stable way of increasing height of a pyramid is to increase things at every level. So if you have one square block on top, you are going to have a 2 by 2 square at the bottom, a 3 by 3 square below that, a 4 by 4 below that, and n by n at the bottom. If you want to increase it by one level, you have to increase number of people at every level. Okay. And therefore, at some level, I think that increasing the scientific pinnacle of the country also has to do with increasing what the base is. And this base is of two kinds. One is of course the overall scientific literacy in the country, and second is the level above that, which is number of students who actually want to come to science. I think this is the level that has been rather ignored and well, due to our own fault. I think it is us scientists who have not done so well in advertising what we do, in actually convincing the students and their parents that what we do is exciting and what we do also is something that is monetarily beneficial. There are two cases. One is of course the fact that we should tell people that there are opportunities available, like Inspire, that one of my colleagues mentioned here. But a second very basic thing is also convincing the students that what you are doing is interesting, important, and something that you will like to do for many, many years. I see some faces here, some young children who perhaps have come to listen to what nice things happen into science. These are people to whom we give what they want. Students, it is true that still have a large influence of their parents, especially at the level of 10th or 12th, where you have to choose what field you go into. But remember that the students will be able to convince their parents only if first we are able to convince the students that yes, a career in science is actually important. So therefore, the first point I would like to make is that it is our responsibility as scientists who understand science, who understand opportunities in science, and who have some feeling of what's going to happen in the future, to convince students in schools, colleges, universities that being in science and doing research in science is rewarding both from inside as well as from outside. I think the situation actually is positive in that sense from outside. However, the fact that opportunities exist is not really very well known to people. So I think even as leaders, for us, for example, whose names are kind of known to people, I think it is our responsibility to do this in this both-pronged way, convincing students of the innate excitement and convincing parents of the fact that they are going to have a good future. Changing the topic, but staying again on the same level of pyramid, is the following. Science keeps on changing. I think in today's talk, the morning lecture by Professor Sir, he said that at the end of 19th century, the best minds in the world had no idea what is going to happen in 20th century. They did not know that there will be quantum mechanics. They did not know there will be relativity. They did not know that the kind of things that we work, like this, for example, would even be possible. Therefore, there should be a scope for people to start innovating in areas which people have not thought of. One approach which Professor Rao talked about, which is of course very important, is to identify what needs to be done, which is the top-down approach, and try to create resources and manpower to do that. At the same time, there should also be some way of trying to see where ideas are emerging. In the example of a pyramid, it's like saying that I have this big pyramid, but somewhere here I see that some stones are trying to become bigger, they're trying to enhance what they have. What we need is people who have the vision to be able to see that some good area is emerging here and that area should be supported. So these both ways are complementary, not contradictory, as the speaker said. One way is the top-down approach, where you identify some areas and develop them. Second is the bottom-up approach, which actually needs some scientists who are really working in the area. Input should be taken from people who are working at the forefront. And once areas are identified where people can work well, those areas should be supported. I can give you one example, which is right now happening here, which is the area of where we have started this mega project on India-based neutrino observatory, on which we are going to have a session here. Now this is one mega project. I think the budget is of the order of 1,000 crores, where a big national facility is going to be built in the country. In order to support that, they have actually started a graduate school program where they take people from all over the place, and manpower, which will be ready at the time that this experiment starts, is currently being built. If such projects are seen around you, it is our job as scientists to support them. They may not be in your own area, but in an area which you understand, in an area that you think is important. We scientists are a community, and therefore, wherever we see progress happening, we should support and help the people who are in surrounding areas. Yesterday evening, Professor Mohammad Yunus gave a talk, and in that he mentioned that if you ask questions to people who are established in the field, he gave the example of bankers, they will give you answers which have been tried and failed because they have never thought of new answers. So this question should be asked to people who have not thought about this. The question of how scientific progress should be made should not be asked to people who are established there. You will get the answers which are Pisapita answers. The question should be asked to people who are young, who are maybe students going to college, just coming out. We should ask them, what are the opportunities that you see now? What is it that we as scientists should do so that you think your future in science will be exciting and beneficial? We should listen to this demographic, which perhaps we haven't listened to so much. We are also people who are somewhat in the middle. We are also perhaps those who have been in the system for a bit too long. We should also ask input from people who have not been in the system for too long. Ask them what they think. You can see, my kids, for example, can do something on smartphone that I cannot even think about. If you ask students of this age about what is it that you want Indian science to go towards, perhaps they will give us some answer which will even be surprising and useful. So with that, I will stop my talk.